Hey guys, welcome back to AZ Triumphster. Well, today we are going to install a new air cleaner on the Fat Bob here. You know, I totally dig it when you guys comment, share your experiences, give some insight, some opinion on the matter, because when I did the video about the Chrome SNS 2 exhaust for this bike, and I mentioned an air cleaner, a lot of folks commented, gave some insight as to maybe what air cleaner they're using, but the majority of those opinions shared had to do with hey, get a Chrome air cleaner. And I don't typically like Chrome, but I did a lot of research, looked at a lot of different air cleaners, and ultimately took your guys' advice. So I'm not going to reveal exactly what that air cleaner is yet, because what we need to do is download this one, and I'll run you guys through that real quick, not piece by piece. I'll just put it sped up on the camera, and then we'll get into what the new air cleaner is, and we'll install it together. And now for the reveal. Yep, went with SNS. Okay, so why? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, Chrome air cleaner can be accomplished by just making that selection, whether you're getting a K&N, an Arlen Ness, whatever, drag specialties, you name it. So the one I chose, yes, Chrome, but initially what I did was I called a local performance shop and read up on, or just kind of, I asked them, hey, what do you guys recommend? Because they have a dyno and they do tuning. What do you find is the best for performance? And to my surprise, they said the Arlen Ness Stage 1 Big Sucker, and that's just comical to me because I've had that now on two motorcycles. I had it on my Sportster 72, and I had it on my Softail Slim, my 107. But when I had it on those bikes, I didn't get it for performance. I got it because it was cheap, and it was minimalist, so you could focus more on the aesthetic of the bike. And it's not that I was initially opposed to the Arlen Ness Stage 1 Big Sucker. It's that I guess it was just a little too plain for me. I wanted something that had a little more character, that spoke a little more to that time period. So I kept looking. And what I noticed, a couple of things. What I noticed when I was looking at Arlen Ness, you go to Arlen Ness's website and you go to, for example, SNS's website. Arlen Ness is very much focused on the aesthetic. That's not to say that their parts aren't well performing, but SNS, if you go to their website, they appear to be much more focused on the performance. I mean, their stuff looks good. There's no doubt about that. I mean, clearly. But they seem to focus on performance. So that was definitely notable. It's a well-known thing that this, teardrop shaped thing is, people think 70s. Now, granted, you could argue 70s chopper, right? Fine. But, I mean, this is distinctly a 70s overall look here. So, and then I think for me what sealed the deal was this. They call it Stinger. It intrigues me in the way that I understand that with that air cleaner, right? You have air that passes across your throttle body, and then even with like some of the Screaming Eagle stuff where the face where the 114 is and all of that is open, and this is just kind of like how I speculate, and what makes sense to me is you have air passing across, around, ambient, turbulent air, you might say, where the throttle body is just pulling from that air in whatever sort of condition, whatever sort of way it's passing through, around it. And with this, what makes sense to me, you got your airflow coming through here, but the shape of this cone, to me, I feel like there's potential to have some sort of structure, maybe in a funnel, or even to decrease the turbulence of the air around the throttle body and make it more efficient. That's just a guess. I'm speculating. If it doesn't do that, then I would hope at minimum it performs, to a general stage 1 standard, which I'm fine with, because now I get the aesthetic that matches this chrome, layout. I will say, and this is something for you guys out there who are looking for performance, or what's top notch in the marketplace. It wasn't just that performance shop that said the Arlen Ness Stage 1 Big Sucker was their preference. There was a couple video reviews. Even RevZilla said that is a fan favorite. So just something to keep in mind. But let's get to installing this thing. They pretty much provide, instructions. Your O-ring seal for the back of this. I like the structure. I'm wondering if there's a special thing here. I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself. I should have learned my lesson from the exhaust. All right, let's bust out the instructions and see what we're up to. First thing they say is if you have this support bracket, to remove it. As you can see, mine's a little different there. That's only over the top. So I think if you have a 107, at least my Slim had that bracket. So you're going to want to remove that. And it looks like now it's just explaining to install this doohickey here. I think that helps cover some of the throttle body to the aesthetics of it. Electrical plug cover on the back side of the air cleaner with one hole over, blah, blah, blah. Self-tapping screw, interesting. All right, well, let's plug that guy in and move on to the next step. Well, that was easy. Looks like they have you mount it so it's curved back towards the motorcycle. But yeah, that was pretty darn easy. So let's see what is next. Locate the 3 backplate screws. Those guys look like they're right in here. Install the 3 screws in the back plate as illustrated. 1, 2, 3. The screws will thread into some resistance due to the slight interference fit of the threads in the plate. No? Alright, well, let's do that. Okay, well, there they are. There was no resistance. Yeah. It is threaded in there, so... Which, by the way, that's kind of smart. Can't tell you the number of installs where you're like trying to juggle multiple parts and shit's just backing out and falling off. But this next part, I think I'm going to do something a little off script here. Install the supplied O-ring in the groove and illustrated. A small dab of grease makes it easier to keep the O-ring in place. And I agree with the grease aspect. Here's my issue is this O-ring is slightly oversized. So my fear is it'll get pinched outside of its little retaining area. So I think I'm gonna go plop this thing in the fridge, or maybe even, gosh, I'd be hard pressed to put it in the freezer. But basically, the idea I think I'm going for here is to try and get this to shrink down at least enough to where it fits in there a little more naturally. And sure, I'll use some grease too. But again, I don't want it to get pinched, and I've dealt with that O-rings pinching when I did the rear shock lowering piece on the Slim. So anyways, let me give that a shot. We'll check back here in a minute. Okay, I've got the O-ring chilling out in the fridge, and basically, and I'm going to need both hands for this, so I'll probably either set up the tripod or not. And basically, it's a matter of using the provided blue Loctite and prepping each of these threads with just a little bit of it. Yeah, and then yeah, this is going to be still kind of be a juggling act, but probably put some grease and then place the O-ring, and then mount it. Yeah, right here, and then mount it. So yeah, let's figure that out and get it mounted up here. All right, now that that's on, I can kind of go over with you, what the instructions are indicating or advising. So you saw that I used some grease after cooling off the rubber gasket, seal, O-ring, blue Loctite, all that stuff. And then you probably noticed that I went around and, on the backside and inside the throttle body, made sure that the O-ring wasn't bulging or being pinched anywhere, and it looks like it's not. So here, basically it says to, torque it down, gives you the torque setting, 72 inch-pounds, and then check between the cylinder head and the back plate for air gaps. Feeler gauge works well determining the amount of gap in between the head and the back plate, illustrating picture 9. If the gap is less than the thickness of the rubber-coated washer's present torque, the breather bolts down to 10 to 12 foot-pounds. If the gap is more than the thickness of the rubber-coated washer's present, determine how much and select the appropriate number of rubber-coated washers needed to take up the gap. So before I filmed that last section, I pre-fitted this, and I used the feeler gauges, and I couldn't even get a 0.5 millimeter feeler gauge between the backing plate and the cylinder head. So I can't imagine that I would need more of these. Each situation might be different, so if you're installing this particular air cleaner, make sure you check. Thread 3 is finished, torque bolts 10 to 12. Cool, alright, now the next step is this filter. And really it just looks like the filter's going to go on. There's no plate here. I have another sheet of paper somewhere I gotta grab. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't have this plate. I have that cover. So really, it looks like from here, it's just, where'd you go? These guys. And that, after that's on. So let's do that. Well, there you have it. I really dig that look. I guess in the pictures I got this impression that this was like a much larger and oversized cover. I mean, granted, this one is the mini teardrop, but it just complements the whole scheme. Looks great with the chrome heat shields. That is so sick. I love the way this turned out. I hope you guys dig it too. Yeah, so that last part there, as I tried to show you, the inside of the filter has a wire mesh, which is great. Going to help keep its structure as well. And then it had like a perfect seal to that backing plate, that inside, and then, you know, just had to kind of feel around to find the location of where these two little guys are supposed to go. But that looks sick. Yeah, I'm really happy with my purchase. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Super easy install, quality made parts, and short of testing it and letting you guys know how that goes, which I will do, I think this turned out perfect. Well, that's about it. You know, I'm sure you guys are wondering, you know, hey, there were torque specs in the instructions. AZ Trimester, how did you ever manage to get the right inch pounds or foot pounds? Great question. I use the good and tight standard. So if you're tightening it up and you get to that certain point that it feels good and tight, you know you got the right torque spec. That's always worked for me. Wow, man, I'm just so happy with it. So yeah, I need to take it for a ride, test it out, and I think what I can do then is give you guys a video feedback about the whole setup. Man, I also have to do the Smart Tune, right? Because now I've got this high flow air cleaner and this 2-in-2 exhaust. I should do, because I've been running a stage 1 download on the Screaming Eagle Pro Street tuner with the factory air cleaner, but a K&N drop-in and slip-ons. So I think it's time to upgrade that. So lots to do. Also, this factory air cleaner is up for grabs. This does have the K&N high flow filter, and I get that it's a factory air cleaner, but I have heard of folks with the factory 107 air cleaner switching to this or something like this, shy of the badge. It's, for all intents and purposes, a stage 1 air cleaner. You know, or if somebody just needs the filter element itself, maybe we can work something out. Hit me up in the comments. Email me at aztriumster@gmail.com. You can always find me at Dean Speed as well. Also, with the new exhaust, I can't run my Dean Speed rear slider / passenger footrests, which I've talked to you guys about before and shown you on this bike. Here they are. And they're used, but they're up for grabs. I mean, they're practically new. I take very good care of my stuff. So yeah, if any of you guys want to snag those, they fit, you know, all the Softail models, different hardware kits for each bike, but you know, they need a new home. thanks for hanging out, guys. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like the way it turned out. If you don't, you can say so. Tell me what air cleaner you're running and why it's better than this one. But yeah, you know, it's awesome doing this stuff with you guys. I'm glad we're doing it again. And you know, until the next one, just stay safe out there.